fires out. Your executive order got water to the scene in your earliest days of your presidency. You've been there from day one. We've been out there twice now. There had been no changes until your executive order this week that is allowing that permitting to happen quickly. We have 16,000 structures burned. We have put loans out on 12,000 of them for $3.2 billion. More than half of all the disaster money delivered in America went to that area.
Help the mayor and help the governor get their permitting done, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Kelly, just...
leadership, they're going to be able to rebuild. But that's not all you've done.
They'll take the credit for it, watch. It'll start and they'll take the credit. Look at the great job we did. They would never, it wouldn't get built in 20 years. And it will be destroyed by building low-income housing next to luxury housing. History says that doesn't work too well. Go ahead.
That doesn't happen, Mr. President.
Please.
But under your leadership, you've ended at least 8 wars, okay? But probably the most important and underreported war that this president ended was Joe Biden and the Democrats' war on Main Street and hardworking families. We've seen it as I've gone across the country this month, 10 different states, and we saw it when we were together in Iowa. Hardworking families, farmers, small businesses expressing gratitude, lined up to thank you. I was out with our great vice president last week in Toledo, Ohio. They are thanking this administration for getting Main Street back. Deregulation, it's all rocket fuel for hardworking families and main streets. And I see it whether it's talking about small business expensing, 100% accelerated for Made in America factories, the 20% pass-through, but it's also working families where they have expanded child tax credits, increased standard deductions, permanent low-income tax rates, health savings accounts, Trump accounts. This president is delivering for Main Street. It's the most underreported story in this country. And I see it in Main Street businesses. All-time small business confidence hit a record under this president last year after the Trump tax cuts. All-time small business formation now at 36 million small businesses and a record $100 billion out from SBA because a record number of people want to invest in this country and hire. And whether I've talked to manufacturers about tariffs, they know that this president is bringing manufacturing back, just like Prince Manufacturing in Macon, Georgia. 500 employees machining parts for our defense, our agriculture, our automotive, our aerospace industry. They're going to hire 500 more people this year because of tariffs, because of the Trump tax cuts, and because of SBA lending. And I see this state after state as I've gone across the country, talked to hundreds of business owners, walked dozens of factory floors. This is not being covered, but it's going on in America. The number one problem is they need skilled workers. This is something I'm working on with Secretary Chavez-Urimer. I'm working across the administration to ensure that we empower our small businesses. 98% of our manufacturers meet the small business definition. So Ford has 5,000 small manufacturing suppliers. The $18 trillion you brought in is creating an economic boom like none we've ever seen before. We are going to have 7% GDP growth. GDP now is probably underestimating where it is in 4Q, but with interest rates going down, with regulation going down, these are all taxes on small businesses, and those are going away. And thanks to President Trump, your leadership, we are seeing Main Street boom. Hardworking families have $1,000 already in their pockets, and when they get their $1,000 refund tax, I hope they all remember that every Democrat voted against them getting their tax refunds, because this is what our administration is doing, is powering your incredible economic agenda forward on Main Street.
Thank you very much. Great job. I do want to say that on my left, I have a man who's doing a fantastic job, and on my right also, by the way. But we're spending a tremendous amount of time and effort on building our military. We largely rebuilt the military during my first term, fortunately, and we're greatly enhancing it now. We're going to be doing something new. We're bringing back the battleship, and I thought, like you remember the battleships from the great Iowa and Alabama, Missouri, those unbelievable scenes that you see, Victory at Sea. You'd see these incredible ships, and I thought they were powerful, but the battleships that we're building are going to be 100 times more powerful than those beautiful works of art. I mean, they were magnificent, all steel. We have the steel now.
What's up, everybody? Just to let you know, we are gonna be watching, earlier today we watched the markup AG committee We're watching the full presidential right now. It's be talking, and then we're gonna be watching the very long-waited SEC and CFTC, conversation. Crypto capital of the world. Don't miss it.
Ukraine, a war that never would have occurred. What happened on October 7th in Israel never would have happened under President Trump. As a result, we're having to rebuild how our enemies perceive us. And when President Trump said, we're not getting a nuclear, Iran, you won't have a nuclear bomb, he meant it. And we sent those B-2s halfway around the world, and they never noticed. When he said, we're not going to tolerate trafficking drugs anymore in our hemisphere, we treat them like the Al-Qaeda of the Western Hemisphere, he meant it, and we're executing that. When you said, Mr. President, we're securing the border, the military was proud to do their part alongside Homeland Security to do that. Same thing with Iran right now, ensuring that they have all the options to make a deal. They should not pursue nuclear capabilities. We will be prepared to deliver whatever this president expects of the War Department, just like we did this month. No other military in the world could have executed the most sophisticated, powerful raid, not just in American history, I would say in world history. What those men did going downtown, another country, the most secure place in the most secure base in the middle of the night without anybody knowing until those simultaneous bombs dropped 3 minutes before the helicopters dropped. No other country could coordinate that. No other president would have been willing to empower those warriors that way to be that effective. And that sends a message to every capital around the world that when President Trump speaks, he means business, and we are reestablishing deterrence at the War Department, Mr. President.
Thank you. Great job you're doing. Just to finish up on that, the Somalian pirates over the years have pirated, stolen many ships. They would get large amounts of money for the ship. You know, you have $1 billion ship, and the insurance companies didn't want to fight because, you know, some of those ships are very flammable. They're carrying millions of barrels of oil. Very flammable, very dangerous situation if they're shot at. So they wouldn't fight. We notified them a number of months ago. Anybody that does that gets the same treatment as a drug dealer sending their drugs in from Venezuela or anybody else. As you know, it's 97% down by water. So the drugs coming in by sea or by water is down 97%. Now we're also starting. That was the more difficult route. Now we're starting to do that by land also. It will be, you'll see that happen as they come in and kill our people with drugs. I think the real number is 300,000 people a year, not 100, but whatever it is, it's a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people. They're going to get hit. But also we added to the list the Somalian pirates that go out on a boat, similar type boat, actually not quite as fast, not quite as nice as you can imagine, but they get the same missile that we give to the people that are bringing drugs. And so far, we haven't seen anybody going out. So the traffic is not being interfered with by people pirating our ships. Not our ships, ships all over the world. I said, make it for any country. We're doing the rest of the world a favor. It's a very effective favor, but we see very little pirating nowadays. You used to have ships being taken every single, like 2 or 3 a week, these massive ships that be brought in to some place in Somalia, which I don't even know is it a country. We have Ilhan Omar left, and then she gives us lectures on the Constitution of the United States. These people are, what they've done to rip off our country is terrible, but the pirating has essentially stopped. They know that if anybody even makes a move toward a ship, they get the ultimate treatment. They will go to wherever they want to go, but it's probably not going to be to heaven. I can't imagine, but they get hit very hard, just like a drug dealer, just like the boats, the ships that are coming in. Every boat that comes in with drugs on it that we take out, we just saved 25,000 American lives. Each boat is the equivalent of saving 25,000 American, mostly American, but American lives. So I just wanted to let you know that, and Pete's been totally authorized to do that, and they know it's going to happen, and it seems that all of that brisk business that they had has been stopped in its right in its foot. So I just want to thank everybody for being here. My cabinet has been amazing. I like this much better than going around for 3 hours We'll pick on other ones. Pam, you're doing great. We're all doing great. JD, if you'd like to say something, you can. Would you like to really quickly? He is, after all, the Vice President of the United States.
It's okay, sir. I'm here for the free coffee. I just say it's an honor to serve with this group, and we're doing a lot of good for the American people. We're very proud of it.
Yeah, we're very proud of the country. We're very proud of you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. President, why not take questions?
Stop the Fed, Mr. President.
Thank you. Why not take guys? Thank you. Let's go. Start moving. Thank you, press. Keep moving. Thank you. Go, guys.
Okay, no questions. Kaboom! This has concluded. What's up, fam? What's up, fam? Drop a like, consider subscribing. Welcome. We are, like I just told you a couple minutes ago, in about 1 hour, we're going to be having this conversation. So get mega ready. Why are we down? Classic crypto, classic gold, classic everything coming down. But it is the story of our life. You know, it just happens, but better things are coming ahead. I'm pretty sure. I know it's coming ahead, and I'm all in crypto the same way that some of you guys are. We've been listening from a lot of people today, right? They're trying not to get into a shutdown. Full Senate will soon review the Clarity Act for voting. And now we're going to have this one coming in pretty soon. Donald J. Trump giving us a complete summary of what's actually cooking for the U.S. And usually it will take much longer, but not this time. It will take easily twice as long if everybody would talk, but no, that's what they did. And they didn't even take any questions. Why is that? Who knows? But no questions, and which is not normal. It's not usual for Donald J. Trump. We'll take a look at some of the comments and questions if you guys have. I mean, obviously, I was mostly listening because that's what I do, right? I invite you. This is how I learn. This is what I listen. This is what it goes all through my mind. And you guys are also invited. But when people ask me at any point in the year, I just go back to all the things that we've been learning together. And it is day in, day out, day in, day out. You ask me about Ripple case lawsuit. I tell you because we all know. But you asked me about the next Fed chair. He just told us that he's going to announce next week. There's so much going on in the country for the economy, but crypto and as a risky asset gets affected and moved by a lot of things. Okay. Glad having stacking gold, silver, and crypto since 2019. Let me go ahead and add the comments here. Let's clean and pause and make them bigger. Oh, perfect. So we got the first comment from For the Crown saying, you've been stacking gold and silver since 2019 and you don't care if gold, silver, or crypto pumps. You're just holding the line. Very good, buddy. Very good. Well done. Also, guys, links down below to BTCC. Go ahead and join us for the 2000 XRP giveaway. We got a brand new website for you, cryptoramos.com. So for sure, check it out. You will find it right there too. We also have BitUnex. Shout out to our partners, BitUnex, right? You will find my link down there in the comments too. We just joined with them, and I've worked with them before. BitUnex, I met them in Singapore, in Dubai. Great people. Another exchange that is doing a lot. So if you guys want to form different portfolios, right, and trade and find new strategies, all exchanges have something for you. Well, check it out. Always do your research. Always do your research before investing. And what is next? We're going to be listening in about an hour. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and close the live soon because I want to rest up and get a little bit of energy and then come back because that might take another hour plus. We don't know. so many places, and Scotland is one of them. All right. Well, everybody, I was eating a huarache. I don't know if you know what that is, right? If you know,
Huge armada was on its way to Iran amid those protests. Bringing us out here to this live image that we have of Washington, D.C. and the White House. And I want to get to this, some breaking news developments from overnight, as Iran has now responded to what the president is doing. And also, they're talking amid these concerns that there's going to be a possible U.S. strike in the region. I want to take us out to this. This is a social media post and a statement from Iran's foreign minister. Take a look here on your screen. He says this, quote, "Our brave armed forces are prepared with their fingers on the trigger to immediately and powerfully respond to any aggression against our beloved land, air, and sea. The valuable lessons learned from the 12-day war have enabled us to respond even more strongly, rapidly, and profoundly. At the same time, Iran has always welcomed a mutually beneficial, fair, and equitable nuclear deal on equal footing and free from coercion, threats, and intimidation, which ensures Iran's rights to peaceful nuclear technology and guarantees no nuclear weapons." He finishes off by saying, "Such weapons have no place in our security calculations, and we have never sought to acquire them." I want to bring into this conversation to discuss this even further Jonathan Sayeh. He is the Iran research analyst at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Jonathan, good to see you.
Hi, it's great to be with you.
Of course. All right, so Iran has responded. Let's really talk about what the regime is focused on right now amid that development from the White House yesterday.
I know the Islamic Republic's diplomacy, the diplomatic machine, always tries to propagate the same narrative that they only have peaceful purposes when it comes to their nuclear ambitions. Time and time again, different reports have proven that that's false. So we know for a fact there are many elements within the Islamic Republic's Revolutionary Guard Corps, as well as the Defense Ministry, that want to pursue weaponization. They've continued to threaten to do it. So it's not really about remarks; it's about how they act, and it comes down to one main issue of enrichment of uranium. Whether America would allow that as a red line, that's debatable. That has always been a firm red line that Washington has imposed on the Islamic Republic. On the other hand, the regime in Tehran does not seem to bow. They don't really budge when it comes to giving up their enrichment capabilities. But it's important to note that following the 12-day war and after Operation Midnight Hammer, we were able to disrupt this the enrichment capacity, which was unprecedented. No deal was ever able to achieve that. That's very crucial. So it really comes down to the fate of a few kilos of enriched uranium that I don't know if it's worth negotiating over necessarily, given that this regime has bloods of about 30,000 Iranians on its hands. Any negotiation with it would really legitimize it and would send the wrong message towards Iran's civic movement.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the negotiations that Iran possibly will have with the U.S. going forward. But first, I want to talk about this armada that was deployed by President Trump and the U.S. So there's a lot of regional reluctance there when it comes to also allowing the U.S. to use regional airspace. How is that going to affect operations if there were possible military strikes?
Our allies in the region have been sending contradicting messages. In public, they endorse one issue, but in private communication, they endorse another. And that's because fears of Tehran. This Islamic Republic has been a major aggressor in the region, has struck Saudi oil, continues to fund proxies to destabilize the region. So there's no doubt the Middle East and the world as a whole would be much safer if the regime were to halt its terror activities, its ballistic missile program, and its nuclear apparatus. That said, the Islamic Republic is inherently incapable of reform. There is no scenario in which a regime as it stands would change its behavior. They've always signaled that the Islamic Republic is inherently not willing to and doesn't have the capacity to change its policies. These are foundational pillars of the Islamic Republic. As to when it comes for the region, ultimately it comes down to the only country that does have a history of having targeted Iranian nuclear apparatus and military infrastructure, and that's Israel. So in this, if there were to be a strike against the Islamic Republic, I think the main leverage that we would have would be being able to tap in Israel. And the officials in Tehran have been very clear that if there were to be any U.S. attack, they would preemptively strike Israel as retaliation. So realistically, in a scenario, we would see Israel get involved, and they do have both the intelligence and the military capabilities to aid a U.S. strike.
What kind of dialogue is Iran suggesting be had right now, and what kind of leverage do they have within negotiations with the U.S.?
Their leverage is quickly diminishing. Of course, as we mentioned, following the 12-day war, we destroyed all their enrichment capacity, which is specifically centrifuges. This was critical. That said, the only leverage they meaningfully have on the nuclear file continues to be the leftover enriched uranium, about a few kilos, that the fate is still not really decided. But there are two other issues that Washington has been seeking to negotiate over that Tehran has been reluctant, and that is the ballistic missiles and the proxy support. The Islamic Republic sees these three as three layers of deterrence against any of its adversaries, but has been shown a willingness to negotiate to an extent over the nuclear file, but never in good faith. It's a matter of whether they would actually discuss their ballistic missile reach, for example, or their support for terror financing. That said, as we talked about, this is a regime that sees these as a tools for its survival. In its perspective, if it were to give up these layers, it would effectively be exposed to an external attack.
Let's talk about regional partners now. What can places like Egypt, Turkey, and Qatar realistically do at this moment to de-escalate this situation?
When we talk about specifically Turkey and Qatar, these are Muslim Brotherhood-backed governments that have an incentive to keep the Islamic Republic in place. We know that they've cooperated in numerous fronts, for example, supporting Hamas and supporting different terror groups in the region. So that is the main challenge, because we're reaching a point that two of America's most crucial regional allies do not have the same interest as America. And that's really concerning. So I think the focus should mostly be on the other states that are trying to bring them in, and I guess from a foreign policy angle, and if a foreign policy win, if you will, would be the fact that this administration has been pursuing the Abraham Accords, trying to normalize relations between Israel and its Arab neighbors. The next step to that would be normalizing a relationship with Iran and Israel and other countries. That would be a significant historic achievement. So when it comes to really securing our allies and ensuring that our diplomatic wins are going to be notable, that it should really be pursuing an avenue that would allow this regime to really be pushed towards its collapse, that would facilitate a huge diplomatic and military win for the region, so we can normalize finally between the world's former, ideally, #1 sponsor of terrorism and our new regional allies.
We're taking a look here at some of the videos.
We expect Bitcoin to get to 250,000 this year. So if Bitcoin gets to 250,000 and Ethereum trades at its high relative to Bitcoin, Ethereum's at 22,000 and it's currently 3,200. So you see the massive upside in Ethereum. If you're going to think about Ethereum's price, you should think of it as its relative importance versus Bitcoin, because the ETH BTC ratio is essentially saying, is Ethereum doing better than digital gold? And as the ratio goes up, that means smart contracts are more valuable than digital gold. And so that's how you should think about that price ratio. And currently Ethereum to BTC is 0.03463. Okay. In 2021, that ratio was 0.08727. In my opinion, and many opinions of the team here at BitMine, Ethereum is more useful now than it was in 2021.
Ethereum is entering a supply shock phase, and most investors are still not aware of what's coming next. That's the latest message from Bitmine chairman Tom Lee. Right now, Ethereum's price is being judged the wrong way. The signal is not day-to-day price action, and it is not short-term sentiment. The signal is relative importance. The Ethereum to Bitcoin ratio shows where economic value is flowing inside crypto. That ratio is deeply compressed today, even though Ethereum now settles more activity, secures more capital, and supports more financial infrastructure than at any point in its history. Make sure to stick around until the end of the video, because the numbers that come later explain why this positioning is anything but random. Before we jump into it, just a quick reminder, only a small percentage of you watching are actually subscribed. If you're getting value from the videos, hit that subscribe button. It's free, it supports the channel, and you can always change your mind later. Now here's Tom Lee explaining why Ethereum's importance relative to Bitcoin matters more than most investors realize.
We first wrote about Bitcoin in 2017, and let's look at how Bitcoin has, and at that time we said you'd want to own 1% of Bitcoin. And let's see how it did compared to other assets. And a lot of these other assets I would still own, but as you can see, Bitcoin in that time period that's passed has gone from $960 through September 26th, which we just want to record before the liquidation event, 109,000. That's a 112 times return. It outperformed NVIDIA, which went from $2 to $178, which is massive already, 65x. It beat NASDAQ, it beat gold, which went from 1,100 to 3,800, and it beat the S&P, which went from 2,200 to 6,600. So if you put 1% into Bitcoin, that was a good insurance bet because it really crushed everything else. But Ethereum did even better. You can see Ethereum went from $8 to 3,900. That's almost a 490 times return. Okay, but last year, crypto kind of disappointed. You can see gold did great, the Mag 7 did well, NASDAQ did well, S&P did well, and you can see Bitcoin and Ethereum actually were down for the year. So in some ways, it made many people wonder, is a crypto winter started, or was even last year a crypto winter? Keep in mind that crypto was doing great until October 10th of last year. So Ethereum was up 40% and Bitcoin was up 33%. But then we had the crypto mass liquidation event. $1 trillion of value was wiped out. As many of you know, it was the largest deleveraging event in the history of crypto, even bigger than what happened with FTX. And they estimate over 2 million crypto accounts were wiped out, went to zero. And many market makers and even crypto exchanges had their balance sheets hurt. So the industry, since October 10th, has been limping along. In 2022, November 2022, when FTX collapsed, it took 8 weeks before the market began to show signs of life. So if you asked us this year, it's a larger event, but when would crypto begin to maybe find its bottom? It would be December 10th. And, post October 10th, as you can see, Ethereum fell basically by half and Bitcoin fell by 36%. So here we are. But if you kind of squint, you can see since just the late December, Bitcoin and Ethereum have begun to claw their way back. Okay. Now, think about that. It was the largest liquidation event in the history of the crypto industry. So crypto treasuries were built to go public and outperform ETFs by buying crypto. And since October 31, only 2 crypto companies bought any crypto in size. MicroStrategy, from December 31 to the end of the year, bought $2.9 billion worth of Bitcoin, which is a lot. Metaplanet bought $330 million of Bitcoin. And among the Ethereum treasuries, only 1 crypto treasury bought any Ethereum, which was Bitmine, which bought $2.4 billion worth. And in fact, 2 Ethereum treasuries actually sold Ethereum. Okay, so if you think about accretion by buying ETH accretively or buying Bitcoin accretively, it's only 2 companies. My takeaway is in 2025, because of October 10th, it has shown who are the dominant crypto treasuries. And it really, in my mind, is 2, MicroStrategy and Bitmine. And between the 2 of us, it's 90% of all crypto trading volume for DATs. So the other 78 companies represent 10% of the volume. Okay, so let's jump to part 2, which is the companies made rapid progress on getting to 5% of Ethereum. So that was our mission statement on June 30th when we launched the Ethereum Treasury, funded by our PIPE investors, 2 of which are here today. And in those ensuing 6-7 months, as you can see, we wanted to get to 6 million ETH tokens, and in 6 months, we're at 4.2 million ETH. So we're 68% of the way to 5%. We originally thought this would take 5 years, but we're 68% of the way there in 7 months. Now, thank you. Now, we have cash, $1 billion of cash on the balance sheet. So if we add the cash and said, let's buy Ethereum with the cash, we would have 4.5 million ETH tokens, which means we're 75% of the way to the alchemy of 5%. So we believe, if you believe this trajectory, BitMine should cross 5% sometime this year, assuming the 7 months continue to hold. And as you can see, we studied the blue chip standard for crypto treasuries, which is MicroStrategy. And as you can see here, we have 13 billion of ETH, including cash, in roughly 7 months. At the same point, MicroStrategy had 3.4 billion of Bitcoin. In fact, we accumulated as much Ethereum as Strategy accumulated, which took them roughly 1,300 days or 4 years. Okay, so now that we've stacked some ETH, I think you need to think, because many of you might get angry at us, because I've seen it on Twitter, like, Tom, if you got ETH and don't do anything else, you're just gonna stake it, okay? But then I think you're misunderstanding what happens if you have a substantial stake and especially as a validator, in a proof of stake network, in one of the most important blockchains in the world today. I mean, Ethereum, in our view, is going to be the future of finance. So we have 5%. Imagine like someone saying, hey, there's this really tall kid, okay? He's like 7 feet tall. So we're just going to have him clean gutters because he's so tall, Like your best return should be like, oh, he should be a basketball player, right? Not a roof cleaner. Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
Since 2017, capital allocation has made one thing clear. When investors treated Bitcoin as a hedge, Ethereum behaved like a growth engine. Bitcoin delivered exceptional returns relative to traditional assets, validating the idea of a small portfolio allocation as insurance. Yet Ethereum compounded value at a far higher multiple while simultaneously expanding its real economic footprint. That performance did not come from narrative cycle, but from usage growth across stablecoin, decentralized finance, settlement, and on-chain financial infrastructure. The drawdown that followed was not a demand failure or a loss of relevance, but the result of the largest forced deleveraging event in crypto history, an event that wiped out leveraged participants rather than long-term holders. What happens when holding Ethereum stops being the end goal and becomes the starting point? Let's hear it from Tom Lee.
I just want to explain the potential synergy. So you have, someone says the #1 investor for retail investors, okay? Me, the #1 holder of Ethereum in the world. Okay, we own more Ethereum than anybody, and it's the future of finance. Plus the #1 content creator in the world. I mean, guys, that's the option value. I mean, that's the moonshot potential. And that's what we just put BitMine on a trajectory for another moonshot beyond just the money we earn from stake. Okay. Now, lastly, if you want to know where we could have potential collaborations, I'll give you some thoughts. For instance, do any of you guys watch Beast Games? Okay, it's huge. It's the #1 show in 80 countries. #1 show in 80 countries. 144 million people watched it in the first 25 days. It's the #1 unscripted show in Prime Video history. 50 million families watched it in the first 25 days. I mean, this is driving Amazon growth. And it broke 67 world records. Well, would it make sense for BitMine to be a sponsor partner with Mr. Beast in one of the episodes, right? That makes perfect sense. Well, that's what we're going to have synergy from by being their largest corporate strategic investor. And by the way, something that the Mosaics partners and I, Matt from there here, and Shen's missing, but one of the things that was super compelling to us is that the corporate values of Beast Industries. If you're not aware, they are a very philanthropic group. Mr. Beast himself is extremely charitable. Beast Philanthropy has grown into one of the biggest giving engines in the world, okay? They've raised hundreds of millions of dollars for things like refugees, food, prosthetics, surgeries. It's incredible. So we have corporate values aligned, again, with what I think is the most important content creator in the world, okay? So hopefully, and I took a lot of time to explain that, you understand this was a smart move, okay? We're not doing something crazy with shareholder capital. And they're growing, by the way. Look at his follower count is up 30% year over year. I mean, pretty soon, his follower count's going to include like Mars inhabitants because he's going to cover the whole planet, right? After 7 billion, or it'll be like, you know, frozen eggs and stuff. And 41% growth of views. Okay, so that takes us back to our strategy going forward. We have 4 pillars of growth because, again, I don't think as shareholders, you want us to just simply be staking ETH and buying ETH, especially as we get close to 5%. So let me explain to you our 4 pillars of growth. The first is to maximize yield on Ethereum. Okay, so we're going to optimize the staking yield. The Caesar benchmark is 2.8. We're going to try to do better. One way we do it, at least one way that we've talked about it, is to pursue alpha strategies. Now, the entity that'll execute this for us is Mosaic's Capital. But we also have an advisor, Tom DeMark of DeMark Analytics. For those who are boomers or older Gen X, Tom DeMark is iconic. He is one of the most famous market timing people. He has won so many awards. He only has 2 clients. I believe he's disclosed his, well, I don't think he's disclosed his first client, so I'm not going to name it. We are his only other client. And I showed you that slide where we bought 2.4 billion of ETH in the last 2 months. Tom DeMark's strategies, along with Mosaic's execution, probably saved us $400 million on those purchases. So think about that. We bought ETH in a way that made you guys money. So don't shake your fist at ETH when it's down. We like it when it's declining. Okay. All right. But here's where I can give you some imagination. We have 13 billion of ETH. So imagine proposal 2 didn't pass and we're stuck in the water. We don't buy another dollar of ETH for the rest of the history of the company. But using the staking yield and with some optimization, that would generate 367 to 390 million a year in rewards. We have $1 billion in cash. That would generate another 35 to 40 million. The company will generate 400 to 433 million dollars.
Right? I believe that these are some of the leading indicators that are telling us what Bitcoin is about to do in the latter part of this decade. It is about to freaking explode. It's already exploded. Guys, listen, Bitcoin has already become the fastest, the best performing asset in the history of the world. It's already become the fastest adopted technology in all of the human experience. It's already outperformed everything human beings have ever held dear in the entire history of the human race. Not in small slivers of time, but over time, it is number 1 by far. But I think we haven't seen anything yet. Anything yet. I think the best is about to come. And I think that that best is going to reveal itself inside of the next 4 years, which means you've got 4 years for generational wealth in front of you, 4 years to change your life forever, 4 years to never have to work for another man again, 4 years to be set for life. I believe that opportunity is upon us right now. Now, these indicators are telling us something. Let's look at the one on the left, the stablecoin market cap indicator. Every time there is a breakout in the stablecoin market cap, meaning every time this starts moving up, you get a Bitcoin explosion. Why? Because a lot of people convert their analog value to digital value first in the form of stablecoins now. So they'll take USD, convert it to stablecoin, and from stablecoin, convert it to BTC. They go native to native. Dollars to BTC is not native to native, but if you go USDC to BTC, you're now native to native. And so as dollars go more and more, and the Stablecoin Act, guys, that I just spoke about, it's called the Stablecoin Act that goes to the floor for review on the 27th of January, is largely focused on creating a bill that makes it easier for US dollars to go into stablecoins. It's called the freaking Stablecoin Act, for Christ's sakes. It's favoring stablecoins. It's telling you, the bill is basically saying, convert to stablecoins. Convert your value to stable coins. And we're going to make it easy for you to do that. Now, why is that huge? Because every time money flows to stable coins, Bitcoin's value skyrockets. You see this period right here? This was in, let's say, it looks like May, June of last year, 2025. Look at the move. We moved from 74,000 to 126,000. It looks to me, especially with the Stablecoin Act coming through in March, likely it'll get approved. Boom! This is going to frickin' explode, especially when that Stablecoin Act gets approved. And that's going to feed into Bitcoin's meteoric rise. But this was the type of stablecoin inflow you got before the US had regulatory clarity on stablecoins. So imagine once the regulatory clarity is in place, everyone's going to be converting dollars to stablecoins, and that eventually feeds into Bitcoin. So we're going to see rises exponentially larger than the rises before because the inflow into stablecoins will be massively more. We can get ahead of this. I believe that stablecoin bill probably gets approved around March or so. All right, so right in that apex, guys. See March here? Right in that apex. Boom! The second indicator here, central bank balance sheets. Guys, we have been in a tightening period for several years. Most of you know that. And most of you know that we've only just started to come out of that tightening, that Federal Reserve central bank tightening, right? Now, a lot of people don't understand what that means. It means pulling liquidity, tightening the screws on the money supply and pulling liquidity out of the market. How does the central bank pull money out? What it does is it has several levers to use to do this. There is a cycle there's a very predictable cycle when it comes to watching the six central banks' balance sheets. And when the balance sheets start to rise, it means that they're putting liquidity back in the market. So I want you to try to understand this relationship. It's important. When the Federal Reserve sells things on its balance sheet, it receives the money for it. That's pulling money out of the system. So when it has an item on the balance sheet and it sells it, it's really saying we want to draw money out of the economy and keep it ourselves. We want to lock it up. We're going to tighten things. So their balance sheet starts declining. When a Fed's balance sheet is declining, that's tightening. They're pulling money in from out of the economy to make that less money available. But I want you to look at this. So all throughout these last few years, look at the balance sheet declining. That's pulling money out of the system. They're selling balance sheet items to get the money locked in. Now look at what has happened. The trend has changed. This is about to explode, which means that they're going to start buying back items to put on the balance sheet, which is the form of putting money back into the system, increasing liquidity in the system. Guys, so stable coins rocking is a form of increased liquidity. Central bank balance sheet is another form of increased liquidity. Increased liquidity means higher prices. Now, one of the reasons I believe that there's been somewhat of a struggle with higher.
Welcome in, everyone. We have a developing situation out of Iran involving a mysterious ship that appears to have been struck by something and is currently in the process of sinking. This comes as the United States has Iran surrounded with a lot of firepower ready to strike. We also have reports of Russians evacuating the country. So we're going to get into exactly what we know, what is going down, what is going to happen. I'm filming this on January 29th. All information is up to date as of January 29th. Obviously, a very fluid situation. Things could change, but as of this date, this is what we know. Before we get started, please make sure to like and subscribe. Totally free, cost you nothing at all. Huge boost to the channel. Comment with your thoughts below. Why do you think this mysterious Iranian ship is sinking? Was it an attack? Was it sabotage? Was it just a freak accident? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that notification bell. All notifications turned on. You won't miss a thing of the best information on YouTube, Instagram, David_Hookstead, X D Hookstead. That's where you can find me on social media. My DMs are open. Send me any tips. Follow me on both sites. For those of you watching for the first time, my name's David Hookstead. I cover geopolitics, the military, war, rapidly developing events. We monitor the situation, and we got a big one for you all right now. So as viewers of the channel know, we are on the brink. We're on a code red high alert situation with Iran, and all signs point to the United States launching some kind of massive attack against the regime in Tehran. Before you go with a full kinetic war, you will generally have sabotage missions. We saw this in Venezuela prior to Nicolas Maduro going down. CIA operatives entered the country and then conducted a variety of actions that made it easier for the assault force of Delta Force to go in and execute the snatch and grab mission of Nicolas Maduro. We've seen a lot of weird things happen in Iran over the past couple of weeks, including unexplained explosions, ships going down, sightings of things that don't really make sense. It's a very, very, very hot zone right now. And that brings me to this. I'm going to put this up on the screen. This comes from Visegrad 24. It says an Iranian cargo ship is in distress in the Caspian Sea. According to Russian media reports, the Iranian freighter Caspian Shiva has run aground around 8 kilometers from the commercial port of Makachakal. I can't pronounce that. I'm butchering it. If you know how to pronounce it, let me know in the comments below. The vessel is taking on water as 2-meter waves flood the hold. 2 tugboats have been dispatched to assist. This is important. We're going to get to this in a second. 2 weeks ago, another Iranian cargo ship, the Rona, was in distress in the Caspian Sea. Media report says it was operating on a route used to transport weapons between Russia and Iran. So for those of you who don't know, Iran uses the Caspian Sea to ship weapons to Russia for the war in Ukraine, including drones, ammunition, a wide variety of weapon systems that are produced domestically in Iran are then put on cargo ships and shipped up to Russia to then move into the Ukrainian front. We've got another report of the ship going down. It says Russian Telegram channels report that Caspian Shiva, an Iranian tanker en route to Russia, ran aground about 8 kilometers from the, again, can't pronounce that port. It is being flooded by water due to high waves. There are unconfirmed reports that it might have been carrying Iranian weapons to Russia. It followed the usual route for such shipments. So we have right now a situation, a developing situation that we are monitoring, where a mysterious Russian cargo ship, seemingly for no reason at all, has either run aground or had a hole blown in it. It is taking on water. There are unconfirmed reports that it was shipping weapons to the Russian regime, to Vladimir Putin's regime. So now this is the second time in just a matter of weeks that something like this has happened, where a mysterious Iranian ship, for again, no reason, suffers serious issues while on the route that they use to transport the weapons up to Russia. This is the first time it happened. So this was on January 14th. It says an Iranian vessel used to transport weapons to Russia is sinking in the Caspian Sea. From October 24th to December 25th, the cargo ship Rona made at least 20 calls to the ports of Astrakhan, Makachakala, and Azov, sailing from the Iranian ports of Amirabad and Anzali. According to CNN, this route serves as the main channel for arms deliveries from Iran to Russia. A distress signal was received by Turkmenistan's coastal service. All 14 people aboard were eventually rescued. So that was the first time one of these possible weapon ships, again, this is unconfirmed because we don't get a lot of information out of Iran. That was the first time one of these ships went down. Now we've got a second ship as we are on the brink of war, in a heightened state of alert, a war footing. Another Iranian secret ship is sinking in the Caspian Sea. Was it a seawater drone? Were explosives placed on board? Or did this ship, the new one, did it actually just go down for mechanical failure, whatever it might be? The honest truth is We do not know. But what we know is there are a lot of very weird things going on. And on that note, I'm going to put this on the screen to tell you how serious the situation is. The mayor of Tehran has announced that underground parking lots and metro stations are being transformed into war shelters in case the United States and Israel bomb again. So they are opening up their metro centers. They're opening up their underground parking areas so that people can hide in them once the bombs start falling. You don't do something like this unless you think hostilities are imminent. Unless you think the bombs could come at literally any point in time, you're not going to transform your city into essentially a safe haven, a bunker. We just made a video earlier today on January 29th about the dictator Ali Khamenei. His bunker has been discovered. Now, of course, CIA and NSA likely knew where that was a long, long time ago. I've reported on that before. The public did not really have a good idea. Now we seem to have a good idea of where he is hiding. A very, very tense situation that will be high on the target list. Now, furthermore, I'm going to put this up on the screen. Russia is getting ready to evacuate Iran. They realize the situation is now so dire that they are getting ready to go. So this is a source for, I think this comes from Mario Nafal, but he is citing, I believe, Reuters. It says Russia's Lakachev, head of Russia's State Nuclear Corporation, says the situation around Bushehr, which is a nuclear site in Iran with a lot of Russian workers, scientists, enablers, things like that, is tense enough that Moscow is keeping a close eye on it. Hundreds of Russians work at the plant and more facilities are still being built there. He's warning that any strike on the site could trigger a Chernobyl-level disaster. This comes as Trump tells Iran to make a deal on dropping nuke weapon plans or expect a far tougher hit next time. Lukachev says Russia hopes everyone keeps Bashir off limits, but they're prepared to evacuate their people if that is not the case. So Russia is scrambling, getting ready to evacuate their people from Iran. So we've got ships going down. We've got underground facilities being open. And now the Russians are getting ready to make a run for it, which is another clear sign that they anticipate the bombings to start. Now, I'm going to put this up on the screen for you here. We have an interesting situation with this plane, this Iranian plane fell off radar. This is from Mahan Air. Mahan Air is closely aligned with the IRGC, which is, of course, the most loyal branch of the regime's militant arms. It fell off radar somewhere in the middle of the country before mysteriously reappearing and flying southbound. Now, what does that mean? I can't say for sure. We don't know. But on that note, I'm going to throw some other aircraft stuff up here for you. So right here, I'm going to put just this aircraft. What you see here on your screen is another U.S. spy drone that flew right up to the coast of Iran, started flying racetrack patterns, soaking up all the information it could, finding out what information was there, finding out what they could get. It was a Northrop Grumman MQ-4C Triton. And we have some other aircraft here as well that I'm going to put on the screen for you. Right here, we have a KC, which you see here. I'll go just so you can see this. This is a massive, massive refueling tanker that is refueling planes of an unknown that are not on flight radar. It is, again, just flying racetrack patterns in the Persian Gulf, fueling up whatever U.S. aircraft are in the region. And then there should be one more. Yes, right here. So this is a plane that is flying. I'm going to go, we'll just show this. This is a heavy transport aircraft. Whoops. Let me get it back on the screen for you there. Give me 1 second. Where'd it go? All right. So this right here is a C-17A that took off from Qatar, bound north with unknown supplies that are likely air defense assets. So again, we have a lot of moving pieces. We have a lot of aircraft in the air. We have mysterious stuff going on. I want to pull this off the screen. So as of me filming this on January 29th, we have another Iranian ship that is going down for unknown reasons, unconfirmed reasons. We cannot say for sure what is happening. We have multiple U.S. aircraft, retankers, spy aircraft, transport aircraft, as of the filming of this video, that are up in the air, flying around, figuring out what is going on with the spy assets and refueling what could be fighter jets, spy planes. We honestly don't know. And we know air defenses are being moved around. Russia's getting ready to evacuate. All these pieces, again, point to the fact that something big is coming. When will it come? We still don't know. I think the weekend it's going to be a weekend strike when this starts, would be my educated guess. But believe me when I say the CIA doesn't call me and give me tips. I'm not in the CIA, never worked for the CIA, never worked for the government at all. I'm just looking at the information we have in front of us, and I'm trying to make an assessment based off that information. So that is where we are at as of me filming this. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think the
Let me start off by saying this. The US dollar is collapsing, so it's important that we move our money right. China just made a move that will force America and the global system to shift. And that reason really matters now because the US just signed a deal to step in to print money for Japan. When that happens, assets don't crash, they reprice. So by the end of this video, you're going to understand why savers will get punished, why gold is running, why chips and memory are non-negotiable investments for us. This is not about trading. This is about survival of your money. And we're going to start with the dollar. Now, before we get into this video, man, let's like and subscribe and help me get this video to 2,000 likes, y'all. I promise y'all, there's some gems all the way through this, so you got to stick to the end because we talking gold, we talking silver, we talking chips, we just talking so much. But this is a video you truly got to lock into. Let's get to it, y'all. The US dollar lost roughly 10% of its value this year and another 3% this week alone. Look at the crash today. It's already down this year, y'all. Now, that does not mean that the dollar is dead, but it does mean the confidence in the dollar is gone. And a weaker dollar hurts the US citizens. And when confidence weakens, money doesn't panic. It actually just moves around. And so it makes it real for us because we are the ones that have to use the US dollar to do what? Pay our bills. So you're working harder, you're earning not more, you're saving as much as you can, and you're still losing the war of money. And this is why America's about to print more money to help Japan. So I ain't gonna lie to y'all, the dollar is dead right now and it has to be revived because your money buys less food, it buys less housing, it buys less energy. And this is how the wealth gap is formed. Buying gold is non-negotiable right now. So GLD, GDX, gold miners, junior miners, they're essential because this is safety. This is how you hedge a losing dollar. I'll be honest with you, buying long-term calls, buying gold positions, this is like non-negotiable for us. Japan survived before, but the world borrowed cheap yen. They bought US treasuries. Everybody borrowed money from Japan for like 30 years. Why? Because that's how you build wealth. You get cheap money to buy assets, and then you pay the difference. Well, this time is a little bit different because Japan is saying, we're not going back cheap. And everybody has to adjust. And it really hurts America because now everybody is selling American assets. And I know we said this before, but I want to dig a little deeper because Japan became the pillar of the global system. As long as rates were cheap, everybody got free money, had some ups and downs, but it was good. But now Japan is not backing off. The economy is crashing and America is the bully. And they have to step in because America crashes if Japan crashes because they're the biggest foreign holder of American debt. And so America is now saying we're going to buy the yen and we're going to create artificial demand by printing over $20 billion in cash just to save Japan. But in saving Japan, you weaken the dollar. And that liquidity, well, it doesn't disappear. It flows. It goes to somebody. And that somebody is us. It's a harsh reality. But as American citizens, I don't think we should panic. And buying gold is not betting against America. Gold is actually giving yourself some certainty. It's insurance because central banks aren't buying gold for no reason. They're kind of expecting to collapse. So we have to too. We can't disregard what's going on. And we can't be greedy, but we got to pay attention because buying gold, well, it doesn't have earnings. It doesn't belong to anybody. The government can't print it, but they can print dollars against it. But the thing about America is we don't have nothing to print against the dollar. So we just print it out of thin air. And so what we have to do as American citizens is buy gold. This rally will not stop for some time. So GLD or IAU, if you want leverage, we get the miners. We go to GDX. We go for the majors. We go to GDXJ for the miners. Companies like Newmont Gold, exposure to silver, copper. These are real assets. So gold isn't fear, it's insurance. I know you heard me say it before, but sometimes I just got to say it so you 2 and 3 times so you can understand it, so you can believe it, because it's real, y'all. Again, look at the collapse in the dollar. Now, Japan did this a while back with the Asian financial crisis. This is when America stepped in about 1998 and 1997 when Alan Greenspan. Well, we were there again. Now let's talk about China. Of course, they are the ones that are applying the pressure to the whole world with strategic investments and partnerships, everything to put them in position. We could talk about the rare earths that are 17 metals. We can talk about that. Yes, that's cool. But the real thing I want to talk about is silver. How China is truly isolating America, but it's squeezing the entire world, because they're sitting back and looking at everybody saying, yep, this is the new world. In the new world, order is shifting. Now think about it. Japan was the lender of the world. China became the manufacturer of the world. And America, well, we were just the bullies and the biggest consumers of the world. And we're not going to talk about Europe because they're nothing. No offense taken. But the new world order will start with EVs, AI, data centers, defensive systems. This problem isn't just mining. It's processing. And remember, China controls that. Yes, I said it before. But I want you to dig in a little deeper this time. Think about the whole world now having to depend on China. They've really been setting this up for about 30 years. Now, sometimes the chips fall when they lay and you get a great perfect storm. This is the perfect storm. Its biggest adversary, America, has to save everybody. Why? Because you're the big dog. Silver is needed in everything we need moving forward. But guess what? China holds that down. Silver is not just something that's a safe play. It's not. No. Silver is the new oil. Trust me when I say this. Silver is, without silver, there's no AI service. There's no EV motors. There's no solar. There's no weapons. And imagine your biggest adversary, who you're trying to separate from, you got to go to them to get the silver for your guns. You got to go to them to get the silver for your military. And again, look at the spike in silver. Look at the spike in gold. So I'm telling you, this is today. So I'm telling you, we have to buy SLV. We have to buy SIVR. We have to buy SIL. We got to get in silver futures. We have to buy silver, family. Silver is leverage. I'm not trying to say this to make you panic. I'm just telling you, every time silver backs up and you hear somebody like Jim Cramer say, this is nonsense, this shouldn't be happening, I promise you, the old America that we once knew, the world is changing. And we can't do nothing to switch that, but what we can do is adapt. So this isn't about gold. This isn't about silver. We got to talk about the reality of how us as Americans, we can't change the headlines. We can't change what's happening. We can only control what we have control of. And what we have control of is investing every dollar that we can into things that protect us. Yes, Trump them is giving us, they're saying $4,000 for taxes. They're saying all of this money is going to flood into the system. But I promise you, if you go back and listen to what Jerome Powell said, he said, we see the economy getting strong, but we see the lower pockets of America feeling it hit the hardest. Well, I ask you, my friends, who is the lowest pockets of America? It's you. It's me. And no matter how much money you think that I have, I'm not in the 1%. Not in the 1% that really gets it. Not the Nancy Pelosi era. I'm not that. I'm with you. I'm walking this journey with you. I'm navigating this space just like you. And so today what I want to do is right quick, I want to highlight one of my trappers in the community. This is a trap I highlight. We had our first $100,000 play today. Our first option play that hit $100,000 a day. STX, the company is Seagate. It is soaring after I was up $22. But I want to show you what this one trapper said. This trapper said, Trap, I've been in this community for a while. Look at this, man. Almost $86,000 from being in this community, for being in the Patreon. It's not about me glorifying myself. I just want to navigate the game to take care of me and my family. And if I can help whoever come along on the journey with me, that's what I want to do. I don't want to have the title as the best trader. I want to have the title as, yo, I'm helping people survive this financial destruction. That's what this is about, y'all. So it's about putting plays together, back to back to back to back. We made the money on the USAR. We're making the money on the STX, and there's more plays to come. So please, if you want to just navigate the system a little bit better, come join the Patreon, y'all. It's going to help you out a lot. All right, so here's what I really want to talk about right here. This is the core of what I needed to know. When we think AI is not just about chips, I'm not talking about the NVIDIAs. I'm not talking about none of those. I'm talking about where the real chokehold at. It's the memory, and it's the equipment. We're talking about companies like MU, who've already come out and said, yo, there's a limited amount of memory. We've heard Jensen Huang say, we got all the chips we need, but it's energy and it's memory and it's equipment. So like companies like MU and companies like Rambus, ticker symbol RMBS, all AI needs memory. And they need the memory more than they need the headline. They need the equipment of companies like ASML, companies like KLLC, companies like TSM. I know these two may be a little pricey, but if you can get a half a share on Robinhood, get it. You don't build AI without them. And so stop being stuck on the NVIDIAs. Every pullback in companies like this is an opportunity. Most people stop at the chips, and that's where they get this thing wrong at. So here's a clean explanation on what you need to see. The core, the real truth is this. AI doesn't run on headlines. It runs on memory, it runs on power, it runs on precision, and it runs on equipment. So if chips are the brain, memory is the oxygen, and equipment, well, that's the surgeon. No memory, no AI stalls. No equipment, chips never exist. No workaround, no shortcuts. This is it. You need memory, you need equipment before you even need a chip. And so NVIDIA and all these other companies cannot exist without this. And so what AI actually does is AI doesn't just compute one time, family. No, it doesn't. And now this is what I want to dig deep at. It pulls massive data sets, stores context, recalls information instantly, and retrains constantly. So every time you hit AI and you ask it to do something, it's pulling from things that have already put in it. And it's consistently revolving, relearning itself and redoing things. So every time it gets smarter and smarter and smarter. That's memory and need. That's why MU is going parabolic. That's why MU looks like it's unstoppable. So every time I'm telling you this company pulls back, we need to get in. I'm not even talking options. I'm saying just buy it. Look at it right now. After hours, for no reason, it's just out of here. So memory is the bottleneck. You can have the best chip in the world, but if you have no memory, you can't keep up. Performance collapse. And AI workloads require high bandwidth memory, ultra low latency, massive parallel access. This is why memory demand is not linear. One AI server, one memory unit. Nope. One AI server, multiples of memory capacity. This is why Micron, this is why they're so dominant right now. They supply DRAM and HBM. Memory pricing power is returning. AI flipped memory from a commodity to a strategic asset. Notice how the leaders have changed. If you look at NVIDIA, it's been in the same spot for months. But if you look at companies like MU, it's going parabolic. His demand is high. The choke point is there. Memory isn't a trade. It's a capacity. It's a capacity constraint. And I want you to understand some equipment. It's even more powerful. This is where the smart money lives. This is why companies like KLSC and ASML are shooting the way they are. And so I know these prices may seem a lot, but if you on Robinhood or you want somebody that can give you fractional shares, I need you to really lock in and get a half a share, a fractional share, whatever you can, because this is what a real wealth is, y'all. You cannot scale chips without machine, and you can't replace the machines. No factories means no chips. No tools mean no factory. No competition, no pricing power. Equipment is the toll booth. So every advanced chip must pass through the same gates. Inspection, measurement, yield optimization. There's only a couple companies that control these gates, y'all. So these plays really matter. And it goes from I'm trying to build wealth to I'm just trying to make sure I can stop the bleeding in my savings account so I can stop my checking account from dying, because the more I look at it, the more purchasing power it loses. ASML owns lithograph. They own, without ASMLs, no advanced chips. Governments don't even compete with ASML. They protect it. KLSC, they inspect the chips at atomic levels. They improve the yields. As chips get smaller, KLC becomes more valuable. When complexity rises, inspections becomes mission critical. And these plays will outlast headlines. Chips can be cyclical. Memory and equipment, they're structural, because AI adoption is irreversible. Governments are funded and are funding these build-outs. Geopolitics demand domestic capacity, and factories take years, not months. You can pause software spending, but you cannot pause infrastructure once it starts. This isn't about chasing the next AI headline. It's about owning every future headline that depends on the chip. Memory keeps AI alive. Equipment, that's what makes it possible. I just want y'all to take this serious. I don't want you to look at the stock market. I don't want you to look at these headlines as just something that's about to happen or an easy way to make money. I want you to look at it from this point on as financial survival. It's your boy, the Wall Street Trapper, man. If you found value in this video, man, like it, subscribe it, share it with somebody. This is a financial state of emergency. Salute.
Now, President Trump is threatening stiff new tariffs on Canada if it enters a trade deal with China. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said his recent talks with Beijing comply with a deal signed by the U.S. and Mexico. Listen.
Canada respects our engagements, our commitments. We have commitments under CUSMA that not to pursue free trade agreements with non-market economies without prior notification. We have no intention of doing that with China or any other non-market economy.
Now, Trump's latest threats follow Carney's warning last week in Davos that we're experiencing a global rupture. He said the rules-based order has given way to geoeconomics, the combination of economic and geographic factors relating to international trade and specifically how countries wield that economic power to achieve their political, not just their economic goals. Economist Jeffrey Sachs is the president of UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network, and he joins us now. Good to have you here, as we heard so much in the last few days about global economics and geoeconomics in particular. You point out that in the last few days, the Trump administration has started to call this, in your words, economic statecraft. You say it's economic warfare. How so?
Well, that's actually the phrase economic statecraft that Secretary Bessent used. He said that the U.S. is waging an economic war, in essence, against Iran. He talked about the fact that during the past year, the U.S. went out to crush the Iranian economy. It went out to drive the currency to collapse and to bring people out onto the streets. And that happened. There's tremendous unrest. And Secretary Bessent said, well, things are moving in a good direction. This is really extraordinary. I thought MAGA meant looking after the United States, not going out to destroy other governments and other countries. But right now we have a kind of lawlessness in the U.S. approach. It's very personalistic. The president just does what he wants to do. There's no congressional role. There's no claim to law. And other countries are reacting, and the markets are reacting, because this unpredictability is actually extremely dangerous for the U.S. as well as for the world economy. Why did Trump back down on the threat about Greenland last week? Well, the main factor was the stock market plummeted the day before he got to Davos. And he listened. He can't control the stock market. So he was making chaos in the international markets.
So you call it lawless, to use your words. Prime Minister Mark Carney called it a rupture in the world order at the instigation of the United States, even though he didn't name it that way. You know, ECB President Christine Lagarde said she disagreed, that she thought that was going too far. Does she have a point?
No. If you are trying to create mass unrest, bring people out on the streets, and create chaos, and then say that's going in a good direction. No, you're not going too far to call that economic warfare and to say that that's lawless. It's lawless in two senses. It's lawless in the domestic law of the United States. We have a constitution. The power to put on tariffs is in Article 1, Section 8 of our Constitution. It's not a whim of the president, but he's treating it as a whim. That issue is before the U.S. Supreme Court right now. It's definitely lawless in terms of international law which is the UN Charter. Unfortunately, this administration sneers at the UN Charter. They forget that the United States ratified the UN Charter. It's a treaty of the United States. It is the law of the land under our Constitution, a ratified treaty. So it's not to be sneered at. And it is definitely illegal under international law for a country to use force to bring down another government.
Right.
And this economic strangulation is precisely that.
And you mentioned there the Supreme Court. We will see whether or not Congress will ever step in at this point. I do want to get to the issue, though, of those sanctions. And you've written extensively. You've studied this extensively in the past few decades, not just the last few months. The power of sanctions. Now, the primacy of the U.S. currency to wage that economic warfare, that is key. But on their face, sanctions against Russia, Iran, Venezuela, and I've just named three, they've hurt those countries, right? But principally, they've hurt the citizens in those countries. They've not really affected change. What explains that? Regime change, I should say.
Yes, that's a very good point. I would say the sanctions on Russia have mainly hurt the European Union. They cut themselves off from low-cost energy. Maybe Trump and his friends like that because now Europe buys liquefied natural gas from the United States at 6 times the price that it was paying for Russian gas. But the sanctions just meant that Russia rerouted its oil and gas towards Asia. So it did not bring down the Russian economy, but it did bring down German industry. The threats that Trump made threaten the U.S. economy. They scared the wits out of the international markets. It's strange. The United States borrows from the rest of the world heavily. We're running huge budget deficits, and our interest rates are rising, in part because the U.S. is not a good bet. And then what is also happening that's very important for people to understand is other countries are shifting away from using dollars. The privilege that the U.S. has, that our industry and economy has by the use of the dollar globally is going away. Now, Trump thunders about that. Anybody that threatens the U.S. dollar, they're going to hear from us. But he can't stop that because there is no way to compel third countries to use the dollar when it has been weaponized in this way.
Yeah, and people are really waiting to see if that comes to fruition on those markets.
Welcome back. The world's largest defense contractor, Lockheed Martin, reporting better than expected earnings moments ago. While the stock is up 6%, the company also announced a plan to quadruple production on its anti-ballistic missile defense system, known as THAAD. The company breaking ground on a new munitions acceleration center in Arkansas to meet surging defense demand on the heels of a landmark 7-year agreement with the Department of War to more than triple the PAC-3 MSE missile output to about 2,000 interceptors a year. The stock is up about 40% just in the last 6 months. Joining me now is the CEO of Lockheed Martin, Jim Taiclet. Jim, great to have you. Welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Good morning, Maria, and welcome to Camden, Arkansas.
Yeah, I can see you're at the plant right now. What do you want to say about the THAAD production?
Well, that's a really important defensive weapon for our country and for our allies. THAAD can intercept high-speed ballistic missiles at intermediate long ranges and destroy them and protect our people. So we're very, very committed and excited to quadruple production from about 96 a year to 400 a year. And we'll be doing that over the next 3 years.
Well, that is really exciting, and it's certainly at a moment in time when most people are expecting you to have a big role in the president's Golden Dome that he's planning to protect the U.S. from potential missiles. Let me ask you about the F-35, which is so important for the company. What is it, 27% or 30% of revenue? Jim, tell us what your expectation is for the delivery of F-35s in 2026 and 25.
For 2025, we delivered a record 191 aircraft to the U.S. and our allies. We'll probably be around 156 plus or minus this coming year, based on our supply chain steadiness that we have built around the program. And on top of that, we're working with the U.S. government and the Department of War to modernize this jet so it can stay even further ahead of any possible competitive aircraft in the world. So we're working on sustainment as well. We want to have this jet up flying more and more hours every year, and therefore we're going to put $1 billion of our own money into the sustainment of the aircraft to make sure that the readiness rate's where we all want it.
Well, I know President Trump is very happy about that. I'd like to get your take on the Department of War's new acquisition strategy and how they've been allocating capital. And of course, you announced a buyback this quarter, and I want to get your take on that because I'm not sure what President Trump is going to say about that. He's had real opinions about how the defense companies should be spending their money. I asked him about that when I was in Davos last week. Listen to what the president told me last week on that. Watch this. I want to turn to the economy, Mr. President, because when I first interviewed you, when you first came back, it was about a month after the inauguration for your second term. I asked you, Mr. President, what do you want the economy to look like in 4 years? And you were very clear. You said, I want the private sector to rule the day. And since then, in the last year, you've taken a 10% stake in Intel. You've taken a stake in MP, Mountain Pass. You told the defense companies 2 weeks ago, don't pay any dividends, don't do buybacks until you produce the weapons that we need. So please explain to our audience, how is that free market capitalism?
Well, it's very free market. We have defense companies that were making a fortune. They were buying back stock with all their money. And then they come to us for money if they want to, we want to buy something or we want to have plants built. And they'd say, could you loan us the money? And they'd be doing tens of billions of dollars of stock buybacks. So I'm not letting them do it. I want them to put money into, we have the best equipment in the world, the Patriots, the Tomahawks, the F-35s, all of our equipment's the best. Other countries want it, and we want it. We need more. It takes too long to get it. And I said, we're not going to do that anymore. So also, they were making tremendous amounts of money. I mean, 25, 50, $37 million a year. That's a lot of money. That's almost as much as you make. You work harder. You work harder than them. No, but, they were making, I asked one of the gentlemen, what are you making? Sir, I make $24 million. How come it takes me 5 years to get your particular thing that they make, right? So I put a cap on that for a period of time. I said, you have to build more plants. When we need Tomahawks, I want them within 24 hours. When we need any kind of a Patriot or whatever I want to have it quickly. I don't want to be waiting 3 years for it. What kind of a thing is that? And you make all this money. And I'm prohibiting them from doing stock buyback. And they haven't even complained about it.
Well, so free market capitalism, unless it's a national security issue?
Look, it's free market. It's stupid market letting that take. Why would I let them do stock buybacks and we give them, the businesses from us? So I want to buy, and interestingly, their stocks went up because we raised the budgets. Our budgets are higher. We're going to buy more military equipment. We have to. In this world, we have to. We have the strongest military. I rebuilt the military in my first term. We have the strongest military we've ever had. And we're going to keep it that way. And you get a little glimpse of that with Iran nuclear, but you got a really very current glimpse from 2 weeks ago with Venezuela. Yeah. We have the smartest, we have the strongest, we have the best equipment. They had a lot of anti-aircraft stuff that didn't exactly work too well.
So, Jim, that's what the president said about all of that. Your reaction, and why does it take so long to meet the surging demand, sir?
So, Maria, to be very clear, we did not announce a future buyback of shares in our earnings release. We merely reported previous buybacks that had happened in the past. We heard President Trump's guidance loud and clear. And so, therefore, we are going to take a step function increase this year, and you'll see it in our guidance. In 2025, we invested $3.6 billion at Lockheed Martin in capital expenses and independent R&D. We're taking a step function increase in that in 20.
How does a smaller regional power take on the world's largest navy with its massive aircraft carriers and advanced destroyers? Well, Iran's strategy isn't to face the U.S. head-on. It is to rely on asymmetric warfare. Take this for example. These two civilian ships are sailing near an aircraft carrier. Everything looks completely normal. But then, with the press of a button, a shipping container doors opens up and out comes a missile. These are the self-made Iranian anti-ship missiles, which can still pack a punch. This is instantly followed by a swarm of low-flying drones and fast attack boats from within the cargo ships, and not to forget the small midget submarines. These submarines can launch torpedoes at the same time. In quick succession, it can pass through the carrier's strike group defense system and even achieve 10% impact. They might not sink the carrier, but they can damage it enough to make the waters too dangerous for the US to operate in. So let's look at the 4 key tactics they would likely use. Tactic 1. First and perhaps most famous is the swarm. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy operates hundreds of small, fast attack craft armed with heavy machine guns, rockets, and anti-ship missiles. The tactic here is simple, but deadly. Instead of trying to fight a U.S. destroyer one-on-one, which they would lose, they deploy dozens of small boats simultaneously from every direction. The goal is to overwhelm the U.S. ship's defensive systems, like the phalanx, by presenting more targets than the ship can track and destroy at once. Moving to Tactic 2, mining the Strait. Next, we have the silent killer, mining the Strait of Hormuz. This is the world's most critical oil choke point. Iran maintains an inventory of thousands of naval mines, including smart mines that can listen for the specific acoustic signatures of enemy ships. In a conflict, Iran could use submarines, small boats, or even disguised civilian vessels to drop mines right into the shipping lanes. The goal here isn't just military, it's economic. This would deny the U.S. Navy safe passage and immediately spike global oil prices, inflicting massive economic pain on the U.S. and its allies. Here comes Tactic 3, the kill zone. Third is the geographic advantage, coastal missile batteries. The Iranian coastline is mountainous and rugged, perfect cover for mobile missile launchers. The regime also employs shoot-and-scoot tactics using truck-mounted crews and ballistic missiles. They fire a missile and immediately move to a new hiding spot before the U.S. can strike back. This effectively turns the Gulf into a kill zone, where U.S. ships are under constant threat of fire from land with nowhere to hide. Tactic 4. We have the ambush threat, midget submarines. The Persian Gulf is actually quite shallow, which makes it difficult for massive U.S. nuclear submarines to operate. However, it is perfect for Iran's fleet of diesel-electric mini-subs, like the Ghadar class. These small subs can sit silently on the seafloor, waiting for a target to pass overhead before firing torpedoes. It's a surprise ambush tactic designed to damage high-value assets, like carriers or destroyers, while remaining almost impossible to detect by sonar. These small but stealthy diesel-electric submarines, designed for operations in the shallow waters of the Persian Gulf, pose a significant threat to U.S. aircraft carriers. The Ghadar-class submarines, which are difficult to detect due to their small size and low acoustic signature, could position themselves in strategic locations near key naval choke points, such as the Strait of Hormuz. Equipped with heavyweight torpedoes and capable of deploying naval mines, these submarines could launch surprise attacks on U.S. aircraft carriers. By waiting in ambush near expected carrier movements, Ghadar-class submarines could fire a coordinated torpedo strike, targeting the hull and propulsion systems of U.S. carriers. A successful torpedo strike on an aircraft carrier could disable its flight deck operations, significantly reducing the U.S. Navy's ability to project air power in the region. Additionally, these submarines could lay underwater mines in critical sea lanes, forcing U.S. warships into predetermined ambush zones where Iranian missile and drone attacks could follow up. Tactic 5. We can't ignore the aerial threat. This is drone warfare. Iran has invested heavily in becoming a drone superpower in the Middle East. In a conflict, they would use UAVs not just for surveillance, but as loitering munitions, essentially suicide drones. The tactic is to launch them in massive waves to crash into the sensitive radar dishes and flight decks of U.S. ships. The goal is to blind the fleet's sensors and halt flight operations, leaving the ships vulnerable to missile attacks. Let's look at Tactic 6. The U.S. fleet relies on ports in Bahrain and air cover from bases in Qatar to sustain the fight. Iran possesses the largest ballistic missile arsenal in the Middle East. Their strategy includes massive missile barrages targeting these static headquarters and logistical hubs. The goal isn't just to destroy buildings, but to deny the U.S. Navy the fuel, ammo, and command support it needs to stay in the fight. If the ships have nowhere to dock, they can't stay in the Gulf. Iran's military strategy for targeting U.S. air bases in the Middle East would likely rely on a coordinated, multi-domain approach. By combining its missile arsenal, drone capabilities, and proxy forces, Iran aims to overwhelm American defenses and inflict significant damage. Among the high-value targets, Iran would likely prioritize our Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, naval support activity NS at Bahrain, multiple U.S. military bases in Iraq, and Al Dhafra Air Base in the United Arab Emirates. This approach reflects Tehran's broader strategic objectives, deterring U.S. military intervention, retaliating decisively in the event of conflict, and asserting its influence across the region. One of the most probable targets in a direct confrontation is Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. As the largest U.S. military installation in the Middle East, it hosts around 8,000 American troops and serves as the regional headquarters for U.S. Central Command. The base plays a crucial role in supporting air operations across the region and is a central pillar of the U.S. military presence in the Gulf. To strike Al Udeid and similar bases, Iran could deploy ballistic missiles such as the Fadi-110, which has a range of about 300 kilometers, or the Quyan-1, capable of reaching up to 800 kilometers. If it uses a proximity fuse, it may detonate just above the surface, airburst, to maximize fragmentation and increase the affected area. Complete destruction of unarmored structures and lethal to unprotected personnel. Extreme overpressure, possibly 100 to 300 psi in this zone, will destroy hardened aircraft shelters, fuel tanks, and command posts if directly hit. Depending on where these missiles are launched from, they pose a credible threat to key U.S. installations across the Gulf. In Bahrain, the Naval Support Activity NS at Base serves as the headquarters of the U.S. Naval Forces Central Command and the U.S. Fifth Fleet. With more than 9,000 American personnel stationed there, it is the only permanent U.S. naval shore base in the Middle East. Its port facilities are capable of accommodating aircraft carriers and amphibious ships, making it a vital maritime hub. Given NSA Bahrain's role, Iran may also target U.S. warships in port or operating in nearby waters. It possesses a highly developed arsenal of anti-ship cruise missiles, launched from coastal batteries or naval platforms, which can threaten U.S. naval superiority in the Persian Gulf. Iran may also exploit proxy forces in Yemen and pro-Iranian militias in Iraq to launch indirect attacks or stir instability within Bahrain itself. In Kuwait, the U.S. maintains a strong presence at Camp Arifshan and Ali Al Salem Air Base, which together host around 13,500 troops as of 2021. These facilities act as key operational and logistical hubs, particularly for U.S. missions in Iraq and the broader Gulf region. They also use the Soviet-era anti-ship missiles with solid booster and liquid fuel attached to it, produced during the Cold War, is employed for the attacking mission. When launched, the first stage booster fires off for 2 to 3 seconds, after which the second stage takes off. It searches for a target using analog radar. When locked and ready, it can destroy a ship using a hollow-shaped charged warhead. This has the potential to either destroy or sink a cargo ship if it hits at the right angle. Scenario 2. This involves the use of a Soviet-era missile that was re-engineered by the Iranians, converting it into an anti-ship missile. The converted SA-2 missile can be launched from within 45 kilometers or 28 miles from the target. Take, for example, the U.S. destroyers sailing through the Red Sea. When fired, these anti-ship missiles can travel at a speed of Mach 3.5, These actions create a psychological impact and disrupt trade routes. Speaking of Iraq, several U.S. military bases are located relatively close to Iran's western border. Their proximity places them well within range of Iranian missile strikes, adding to the strategic and tactical complexity of the region's security landscape. Iran's missile forces are dispersed across hardened underground bases and mobile launchers, which enhance their survivability and make rapid, surprise strikes more feasible. These launch platforms are designed to withstand preemptive attacks and deliver quick retaliatory blows. In terms of targeting, Iran would likely aim to paralyze air operations by striking runways, fuel storage facilities, aircraft shelters, command centers, and logistics nodes. The objective would be to degrade U.S. combat capability quickly and limit its ability to respond effectively. But if you want to understand U.S. new military strategy on the Middle East, check out our future upcoming video here.
$10 years ago, if you would have put $10,000 in the SMH, it'd be worth $1.4 million. What? We can't think that the advice that our grandparents used is still good for us. The house that my grandparents bought, it was like $28,000 when they bought it. It is the 40 most important companies to tech for the next decade. It is powering the future, but not just artificial intelligence. If you think electric vehicles, if you think missiles, if you think satellites, SPMO is like your Wagyu. Yes, sir. We giving you a better grade of fund. Like, no. Give me the best companies that you have. Yes. Because of fractional shares, there's no such thing as affordability in the stock market. Affordability is a myth in the stock market.
I don't want none of us to be like, what do people say? Dang, I wish I had. I want us to be like, dang, I'm in there.
Almost 50% of the people who watch and listen to this show every single week aren't even subscribed yet. That means half of you all are just passing by, but you're missing out on the fullness of this journey. Listen, this isn't just a YouTube show or a podcast. This is a movement to help you get out of the red, get into the black, break free from consumer debt, and start building real wealth. Not just for you, not just for your family, but what about for your children's children who possibly you will never even meet, but they'll know who you are because you left them something. Listen, every single episode is about giving you the tools, the mindset, and the community to finally experience the freedom, the peace, and the abundance you've been praying for. Come on, somebody. I want you to be able to say yes to your dreams and to stop worrying about bills and to leave a legacy that outlives you. But you can't do it alone. Better yet, you should not even be doing it alone. But the truth of the fact is, you don't have to do it alone. If you are tired of just surviving and you're ready to start thriving, hit that subscribe button right now. Don't just watch from the sidelines. I want you to join this amazing community. Let's break these chains together and build the future you deserve. Your journey to financial freedom starts with one simple step today. Just hit that subscribe button, and together we're gonna build something amazing. Here's the second step. Pay attention to today's show. Let's get to it.
Yo, fam, it's 2026, man. And I wanted to bring my brother back because one of the things that we've learned, and he and I talked about this, is the importance of knowing what has worked and what's working. So today's show, I really want you to get a pen, get a paper, and write down every single index fund stock that Courtney mentions. And I need you all to open up an account today, a brokerage account, and go invest. Because one of the biggest things that I'm seeing is that people perish for the lack of knowledge. That's number one. And then two, people don't move forward because they don't act. You hear the information, but you don't act. All right. And so, man, Courtney's back in the building, y'all. And Courtney, you know me, we don't need no introduction, bro. I really want to get into it. Let me talk to you this first. Again, for the new people, and just really for everyone. what exactly is an index fund? Because you'll hear an index fund, you'll hear a mutual fund, you hear an ETF, you'll hear, a single stock. I think it's very important, very quickly, if we could just break down what is an index fund, what is an ETF, what is a mutual fund?
Yeah. So a mutual fund, instead of investing in an individual company, which is a stock, mutual fund is a basket of stocks. Okay. Really, really good because it gives you diversification. If something happens to a few companies, all of your money isn't at risk.
Yes.
All right. That's the benefit to a mutual fund.
Okay.
Now, inside of a mutual fund, you have different types of funds you can have, right? You can have an index fund or you can have an ETF.
Okay.
Here's the thing. There's ETFs and index funds are very similar and people mix them up all the time. So this is how I like to break it down. So an index fund tells you what you're investing in. An ETF tells you how you buy it. Okay. So you can have an ETF that is an index fund.
Okay.
Here's another example.
That's good.
An index fund is your playlist.
Yes.
Okay. So on your playlist, you may have some Drake, you may have some Bryson Tiller, you may have some SZA. That's your playlist.
Okay.
But what you listen to it on is Apple Music or Spotify.
Yeah.
And that's your ETF.
Bro, that was brilliant. That's why he's the investing expert. That's why y'all got to go to his YouTube channel, subscribe, and really just get this information. Because how he just broke that down, I don't know if I could even done it even better. This is his lane, all right? And so when we talk about index funds, ETFs, which one are you really pushing people more to? Now that we understand it, if people say, yo, I want to get an ETF or index fund and they've never started, which one would you say get first?
The ETFs, and most of the ETFs that we're going to talk about, they're also index funds.
Okay.
So mostly ETFs. And the reason for that is ETFs trade like stocks.
Okay.
You can buy them any time of day. You can buy fractional shares. There's no additional rules.
Yep.
Some of the more traditional index funds don't trade like that.
Okay.
You basically can only buy them once a day. So you put an order in, it doesn't get filled until the close of the day.
Yeah.
Some of the older ones, they still have minimums. You can't buy fractional shares.
Yeah.
Most of the newer index funds you can, but ETFs is what we're going to talk about today.
I love it. I love it. And before we get those ETFs, you said something that I've never done a lesson on, and I need to do a lesson on it, but you mentioned fractional shares. What exactly would you say in your language is a fractional share? Because I think a lot of people miss out on investing because they can't buy a full, share or a full stock, but you can get a fractional share, a fractional stock. Can you break that down for us? Exactly what does that mean?
Yeah, you're buying a piece of a stock. And because of fractional shares, there's no such thing as affordability in the stock market. Don't be looking at, it's not like, you're buying a car and you're looking for the cheapest car.
Yes.
You don't have to do that with investing. Regardless of what the price is, you can buy a piece of it and your piece is going to move at the same rate as the full stock.
I love it. I love it. All right, man, let's get into it. I think some people came today so they can get an ETF, buy even a fractional share. I need y'all to really dial in, write these things down, get the notes, open up a brokerage account, and go buy these. And then 2, I need y'all to subscribe to his podcast channel. And I think you're doing a lesson Thursday, right?
Yep. Thursday, we're doing our free beginners investing class. So anybody that's looking for a strong foundation, you want to learn a little bit more without the risk, just pop in.
Hey, we're going to link all of his information inside of the show notes and his investment course. All right. What's fractional? Not fractional. Lord Jesus. What's ETF number 1, man?
So let's talk about ETF. And look, I'm going to do 3. And
Okay.
Let me tell you why I'm going to do 3.
All right.
When you start talking about 5 mutual funds, like you start possibly into some overlap, you start getting into some very industry specific things because you don't need that many.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to keep people focused on what's core. And then if you want to add some other things onto that based on industry or some other things, you can do that. But I want to talk about the core of your portfolio. So what we're going to talk about is the core. So I'm going to do 3.
All right, bet.
All right. So number 1.
Yeah.
Hey man, this could be a whole show right here. I'm gonna keep it short. All right. So everybody likes to start out with the S&P 500, but here's what people don't know. You can invest in different variations of the S&P 500. Most people start off with VOO. Hear people talk about VU all the time.
Yep.
Well, the one that I like more than VU, that's the variation on the S&P 500, is ticker SPMO.
SPMO.
SPMO. So let me tell you what this is. So this is a variation of the S&P 500 where how they select the companies is based on momentum.
Okay.
So you're not invested in everything. It's 500 companies in the S&P 500. All of them aren't doing well and all of them don't have the juice.
Yeah.
So what they do with SPMO, they say, okay, well, who has the juice?
Yeah.
Give us the top 100 companies that have juice for the last 6 months. And every 6 months, they rotate them out.
Check this out, family. Did you know that nearly 4 in 10 Americans still have zero money invested in the stock market? That's a gap where wealth is built or missed. If you're just saving, you're falling behind because the markets average close to about a 10% a year for a century, while your savings account is barely keeping up with inflation. I want to make this plain. If you wait just 5 years to start investing, you could lose out on hundreds of thousands of dollars in future wealth. That's not hype, that's real math. The wealthiest 10% of Americans now own over 90% of all stocks because they started and they stayed consistent. But here's the thing, you don't need to be rich to honestly get inside of the investing game. With platforms like SoFi Invest, Public, and Moomoo, you can open an account today, start with as little as $1, literally, and buy fractional shares of the same assets that have built generational wealth for millions. No commissions, 100% no excuses on your end. Listen, I need you to hear me clearly. Stop sitting on the sidelines. Go to anthonyoneil.com/invest right now to compare the top investing platforms and open your first investing account today. Your future self and your children's children will thank you for taking action right now. We have to start building wealth, not just watching others get rich. Do not let another year go by. As a matter of fact, don't let another day go by. Take the first step, family. Visit anthonyoneil.com/invest. Let's get to work. Let's start investing ASAP. Let's get back to the show.
So this is the crazy thing about SPMO.
Come on, man.
All right. The crazy thing about it is 10 years ago, this is because this fund is about right at 10 years. Yeah. If you would have invested $10,000,
right,
it would be worth about $52,000 today. Whereas VU would only be $40,000.
Right.
And here's the most impressive thing about it for me. It is not so much that it outperformed VU, it's also what it did in a down year.
Yeah.
So the last down year that we had was 2022.
Right.
VU was down about 20%.
Okay.
SPMO was only down 10. And it's because of the way that it's managed. So I used to always give this comparison of like VOO being like a ribeye. All right. It's like a ribeye.
Yeah.
Then the other one that I really like was VOOG.
Yeah.
So VOOG basically trimmed the fat.
Yeah.
Right. And gave you the top performing companies of VOO.
Yeah.
But see, SPMO comes in, it's like, we doing this even better.
Right.
We giving you a better grade of fund.
Yeah.
So SPMO is like your Wagyu.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? This is your Wagyu. And so they change it out. They change the companies every 6 months based on momentum. It's about 100 companies in it any given time.
Now, I forgot, how much is it now to buy in, do you know?
VU is around like $600.
Yeah.
$650.
$650. And SPMO is at?
Let's look it up.
Let's look it up, bro. Let's look it up. You know, I got SPMO, but I forgot how much my financial advisor had me invest into it.
Let's see. It is $117.
If y'all don't go get SPMO right now at 117, y'all, because 10 years ago it wasn't at 117.
Nah.
Okay. All right. Yo, here we go. Oh, let me ask you this question. I think that there's some people saying, wait. So they're saying that they're trading out the companies. So if we have 100 companies today, then let's just say 3 years, 10 years down the road, they trade them out to another set of companies. During that transition, will we see stocks go down because it's brand new companies in it?
You're gonna see some movement in general at any given time.
Yes, sir.
But you're gonna always have the 100 best companies and how they're moving.
Yes.
At any point in time, and that's the beauty of it.
And I love it because it's all about momentum. So you're getting the companies that are just scaling and just doing very well and building up traction. And then when those companies fall off, you're going to bring in a brand new set of 100 companies that are scaling and building traction and moving. And so I love that. Now, let me ask you this question too. I've been thinking about this personally. So when I see the companies go out, I tend to follow those and maybe continue to follow their success and then even buy single stocks. Do you sometimes suggest that?
Oh, yeah, because especially if it's a really, really good company, sometimes you can have things going on. We're seeing it with a couple names we've talking about on the show. They're still really good companies. They're just not, the stock price just isn't moving as much.
Yeah.
So that could be a reason to look at a company and try to buy a dip.
Love it. Love it. All right. Number 2, bro. We got number 1, SPMO. Yeah, boy.
Number 2, SMH.
SMH. Yes, sir. Hey, we talked about this.
We've talked about SMH.
Yes, sir.
Multiple times. So SMH is the semiconductor ETF.
Yes, sir.
It is the 40 most important companies to tech for the next decade. It may be the most important ETF that exists. It is powering the future. It includes the majority of the chip companies that are responsible for artificial intelligence. But not just artificial intelligence. If you think electric vehicles, if you think missiles, if you think satellites, technology, cell phones, mobile devices, the companies that make that stuff work are in SMH.
Boy, I bought that last year, boy. I just tell you right now, I'm enjoying the returns right now.
It's up over 100%.
Oh my gosh.
in the last year.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I wake up like, let me see what SMH is doing today. Oh, jeez.
It's wild. And here's the crazy thing, man. This sounds really unbelievable.
Right.
But it shows you the growth of this sector. 10 years ago, if you would have invested in SMH, I'm not joking, man. I had to go back and look at the numbers. 10 years ago, if you would have put $10,000 into SMH, it'd be worth $1.4 million.
Not 10 years ago.
10 years ago, it'd be worth $1.4 million.
10 bands would be worth 1.4.
Yeah. You literally would have had to have had a crystal ball and think like names like NVIDIA, for instance. NVIDIA has really become a household name like in the last 2, maybe 3 years if you've really been following like financial podcasts and stuff like that. You start talking about 10 years ago, what was NVIDIA, right? And so if you look at how fast those companies have grown.
Your 401k just lost 28% of its value. Your portfolio probably did too. Not because the stock market crashed. It didn't. The S&P was actually up 18% last year. But when you measure it against what money actually is, gold, you were down 28%. That's not a typo. That is the real cost of what Ray Dalio calls the debt death spiral we're already in. And here's what's changing. The US dollar has lost 39% of its value versus gold in 2025. Just in 1 year. Central banks around the world are dumping US debt and they're buying gold at record levels. And the guy who predicted the 2008 financial crisis says we're entering what he calls capital wars, where money itself becomes a weapon. What's at risk? Well, everything denominated in dollars. Your retirement account, your savings, your purchasing power, your salary. And by the end of this video, you won't be fear-mongered and doomed and gloomed. You'll understand exactly what's happening and why the people running the system can't stop it and what you can do to protect yourself and your family before this gets worse. My name is Felix Preen. I'm an ex-investment banker. That's Winston back there, who's the brains behind the operation. And we've seen how banks really work from the inside. We've also founded the GOAT Academy, where we've taught well over 20,000 students. And I'm also the co-founder of Trade Vision, where we spread the real data, the real news, and the insider flows of money. So our mission is simple. Give you the same information the institutions have, but without the BS. They're used to keep you confused and compliant. So why should you listen? Because I'm not selling you gold coins or fear-mongering for clicks. I'm showing you the actual data, the stuff Ray Dalio is just talking about. When he says the US is in a death spiral, I listen. And unlike the talking heads on CNBC who have to pretend everything's just fine, I can tell you the truth. The system is breaking, and it's breaking faster than most people realize. So let's jump straight into it. The dollar is losing value fast. It is down a tiny bit against the Japanese yen. It's down 4% against the Chinese renminbi. It is down 12% against the euro. Down 30% against the Swiss franc, and down 39% against gold. The last one is really the only number that matters because gold doesn't lie. You can't print it. It doesn't have a central bank that can, make it up. It doesn't have a government that can manage its value. Gold is what Dalio calls the most fundamental money. And it's screaming that the dollar is dying indeed. I think you're not meant to stutter on purpose, right? It's probably offensive to the, stuttering challenged or something. I apologize to all of you. Now, Dalio says we're in the late stages of a major debt cycle. So let me translate from billionaire